welcome back to the GSL Code A. I'm Wolf, with me is Caldor, and it's time for a Zerg vs. Zerg. We just saw Center take out Seed.
Yeah, and this means that he is facing ByuL in the second round, and ByuL is actually the player that he faced in the last season I talked about earlier, which I couldn't remember. So this is like exactly the repetition from last season. Seed in the first round, Center defeats Seed, moves on, faces ByuL, but this time there's no chance of him actually facing Parting in the third round. So it's going to be very interesting to see if ByuL is able to defeat Center, or if Center is going through the same process that he did in the last Code A season.
Yep. This is going to be interesting to see. But here we go. Zerg vs. Zerg. ByuL versus Effort. Effort currently 0-1. Not a lot of stats to speak of so far in the GSL.
Yeah, not in the GSL. I mean, for him right now, we have really to look at Pro League if you want to have reliable stats about him. And of course, on the other hand, you have with ByuL, a very, very strong player. He was already strong when he was playing for Fnatic, but after he joined then LGIM, he kind of bloomed a little bit, had a very really good games in general, and just showed that he is one of those Zerg players that people have to really take into consideration these days. This is, I feel, going to be a really fast game. I expect that both of them are going to be aggressive here.
They're both aggressive Zergs. If you look at Effort's games that we've already seen from dating back all the way to WCS Korea against DRG, he's just one of the most aggressive players you can ever see. Sitting so far a little bit up higher in his chair than I would have expected, but he'll probably sink down in a little bit. This is weird seeing Effort in yellow like this. I mean, I like the yellow color on most people, but Effort I'm just not quite used to. I'm used to a black jacket for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, as a guy, I know exactly what you mean. This is a jacket that I usually associate with ByuL.
Exactly. Because he's the CGS player we see the most, and now suddenly we've got Effort in here. ByuL, on the other hand, looking pretty similar. Let's jump into this Zerg vs. Zerg. ByuL versus Effort here at the GSL Code A with Caldor.
Starting to the top left, we have a former Fnatic player. He's now playing for LGIM. This is, of course,
LGIM ByuL.
One of the players that Fnatic really relied on in the team league.
Yeah, heavily. One of the best players that they had.
And his opponent to the bottom right for the team, CJ Entis. He is
CJ Entis Effort.
There he is. He's got, there's that black we were talking about on the iPad, you can see.
And you know, Effort is amazing in Zerg vs. Zerg when you just look at the games, especially that he played in Pro League. He has a 70% win ratio with 30 games played, which is really, really good. In Pro League, he was able to defeat against Roro. That's one of those opponents where he doesn't really make the best impression. Roro was able to beat him several times, but he took down opponents like, for example, Savage in the preliminaries. He took down Dark in the preliminaries. He was able to win against Hope. He took down Action several times. He took down so many Zerg opponents, Shine as well. It's a little bit crazy. This guy in this matchup is really, really strong. And of course, ByuL not being a pushover either. But in the mirror matchup, he struggled in the past. It's his weakest matchup by far. He has a 29% win ratio, completely the opposite of Effort. And for him, I feel it would have been much better, and he would have preferred to play either against a Terran or against a Protoss player.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, ByuL has shown, to me when I watch ByuL play, I feel like his smartest moments have been against Protoss. Some of the decision making he makes, but look at that by Effort, his spawning pool. You guys will see it again in a second, but you probably noticed it a little bit already. It affects his gas mining slightly. I mean, we're talking probably less than 10% for sure, but he's blocked his gas just ever so slightly. With
this you know, with a spawning pool placement like this, I'm actually wondering if he played Warcraft 3 back then. That is one of those moves that you always did in Warcraft 3 to optimize your mining from your gold mine. Well, I mean, can definitely be some sort of
you know, when you think about things like this, there's always crossovers from other games you might talk to someone about. But in this case, it hurts him slightly, but in Warcraft 3, I know what you're talking about.
I did that a lot when I started because I was just so used to it from Warcraft when I was a player. I was just going immediately for these kind of building positions. So at the beginning, there was really something like, and I thought about it, was like, okay, does it actually optimize my mining? And yeah, well, in StarCraft it doesn't really matter, but in Warcraft it was a big thing.
This queen really wants to get that Zergling, but it's not going to be the case. Not going to get that Zergling. And Effort making a lot of lings behind this. He's got speed. He's just going to go for a ling all-in, it looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be a speed ling timing. He has basically this timing. This is the timing that Hyun played. This is like a Hyun timing. You go up to 14, 15 drones, then you go for speed and you go for a massive amount of Zerglings. If your opponent starts with a Baneling nest, you're basically dead.
Yeah, and ByuL is playing this super greedy. Like, I've never even seen somebody, I don't think I've seen somebody do something like this in forever, where they think they can go up to 26 drones before they make a single gas. He makes 2 gas at once, but there's not going to be a Baneling nest, and that one spine is not going to be even close to enough. Effort is going to crush this, I think.
ByuL needs to block the ramp and needs to evacuate the drones that he has at the natural, and that's what he does. The drones are moving back, probably even on hold position here, just to block the queens a little bit, but he knows that the spine caller won't be finished in time.
He can't fight. Block the ramp. How does he mess this up? It's the one thing he has to do, and now all 3 queens are going to die, and this game is over.
No, the problem is he has to. He has to fight, because he has to do something, because if he doesn't fight here, he's losing his expansion, and then Effort can just go for the macro game. That's the big problem. So he's just trying to bait those lings in. He had to do something. It was a lost situation for him at this point.
Well, the game is over now. He's got no queens. He's got nothing but drones to die. GG. You were right, man. You thought it was going to be a short game. I thought so, too. Turns out, 6.5 minutes. Effort goes for the all-in, and ByuL plays super greedy and gets punished.
This is the ByuL or loss, and you could really see, I mean, if you look at this and you're like, hey, block the ramp, and that's what he has to. He was hoping that Effort would try to break up the ramp immediately, then he can block the queens with those harvesters. He puts maybe half of the drones into the main base with the mineral walk, the rest of them just in hold position, trying to block the queens so that they don't get too much damage. There are 3 queens, they can do the damage, hold the ramp, go for transfuse, but Effort isn't stupid, he knows that. He looks at it and is like, well, if I try to go up the ramp, you will probably hold, or at least I will suffer severe losses. If I just attack your expansion, even if I only take down the hatch, I can fall back and can drone up. I still have 2 bases, I get the queens, so everything is going to be fine. And ByuL knew it. He needed to walk down a little bit. Effort saw his chance, moved in, surrounded the queens.
He didn't have enough energy for transfuses yet. He had an extra queen, but gasless builds on 2-player maps can be deadly. We saw that already. Game number 2 is going to be on Whirlwind. So a much bigger map. Probably won't see a game quite like this, but DRG versus Effort on Whirlwind. If you look back to that game, it was either Whirlwind or it might have been Tall Dream Altar, but a big 4-player map. It was a long game that was 1 base versus 1 base. It was crazy. I'm sure you remember this game I'm talking about. And we could see something like that if Effort wants to make it that way.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here. That was a very, very fast opening in this best of 3, and I feel that Whirlwind is a game where you can have early aggression or you just go into the late game. So let's just have a quick look what's going on. We are already started with the match. We're jumping into game number 2 between Effort and ByuL here at the GSL Code A with Carl and Wolf.